Welcome back. Now we are with Caroline Gray in the kitchen. I believe it is pulled pork this time.
It
You pulled
is.
chicken in the first hour.
Yep. We're moving on to pork.
Right,
Good stuff.
now we
What do you got
start.
for us?
Yeah.
This is low and slow as well.
Low and slow again. So one of those things, totally foolproof, very adaptable, but we're just going to stick with a real basic pulled pork.
Okay.
So I have a pork neck here. You could do pork shoulder, you could do pork leg, whatever
Pork
you
butt.
want.
But not,
Pork butt.
not,
You can.
but not
Pork butt,
pork steak or there's
You don't
certain
want
cuts you don't want to use.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't want anything too lean, so you'd want to avoid like a loin or just anything very trimmed, because when you're doing anything low and slow, like we saw with the chicken breasts are quite lean, but because you're cooking in all the juices, it keeps it moist.
Yeah.
With the pork, again, you're just better off to go with something with fat, and if it's on the bone, even better.
The fat becomes the flavour then.
Right.
Isn't it?
Down,
Exactly.
yeah.
The fat just totally melts out. So we're going to get the rub going for this. So this is just paprika. Oh, there we go. A bit of garlic powder.
You're really looking after us today with this stuff, isn't she?
I know.
sure
that's-
she's
She's playing a blinder.
We're not.
She's finally read the emails I've been
That's the
sending.
thing. No more fruit.
Caroline, suggested recipe for this weekend. Pulled pork. How about it?
From Simon. I mean,
Yeah.
Caroline. Yeah.
Lots of love, Si.
There we go. So we had thyme, black pepper, loads of salt. Let's see, some whole grain mustard.
Nice.
Yep.
And there's a myriad of recipes for pulled pork
Totally.
and rubs and marinades.
What's
Yeah.
the key with pork? I mean, you're going with cider.
So that was cider vinegar. This is like, I suppose, there are so many types of pulled pork, and then we have brown sugar.
Yeah.
This is just, I suppose, quite like an American South sort of version of it. Like this is kind of a sticky and sweet sort of.
So you're looking for a bit of sweet. and
You
bit
are,
of-
but a bit of spice as
A
well.
bit of spice, and
But
that's the thing. You could
You've got
add.
the sweetness. Cider is going to be a bit of sweetness, isn't it?
So the cider and the mustard are going to give it kind of like a nice acidity, and that balances out the sweetness of the sugar.
Right.
You get some rubs and marinades of pork that would have molasses in them, honey,
Yeah.
cola.
That's the
and
thing.
then you can go with cayenne peppers. You can go heavier on the kind of peppers to give it
You want a bit of
more heat.
spice. It's like the ham at Christmas, putting it.
Well, exactly,
people
yeah.
cook it in
Exactly.
Coca-Cola,
Or a
don't they?
glaze or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this is very southern. It's nice and sweet.
This
isn't
is
it?
nice and sweet. Now, again, you could totally add chili powder if you want. Again, just to kind of get that, if you wanted
Yeah.
a bit of heat to it.
Yeah.
So add a little bit of oil just to loosen it up, and then we're just going to smear it right over the pork.
And like most marinades, then you ideally want to leave this overnight, Caroline.
Definitely,
do you?
yeah, you want to leave it overnight.
Yeah.
So you're going to let this just kind of sit. Now, gloves are handy for this.
Yeah.
But just get it all...
Get your hands in there.
Get your hands in there. Just get it all over it, because like that, it's going to sit overnight. Wrap this in cling film. And then
Will that actually break down into the meat, or I mean, you're just talking about the outer?
it
bits?
will. It'll definitely permeate the meat again, especially with like the vinegar and the sugar.
The
that
longer
kind
you leave
of.
it, it gives a chance
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
in there to
That's
enjoy
the
the
thing.
meat.
So you're going to leave that overnight. I have one here that's been that's been overnight, and then what we did is, and this is a slightly smaller cup, but you'll see it will shrink up a bit, so it's worth getting a bit larger.
Right.
Plenty for
So
me and Tommy
this
there, Caroline.
was-
Don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
Keep us going till quarter past 11.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was overnight in the fridge, popped it into an oven at about 220 degrees for about an hour and a half, and this is just going to make it nice and crispy on the outside.
Right.
Now, it would, at this stage, like you'll find with pork, it kind of gets, when anytime you slow cook anything, it gets to a stage where it's sort of tough, and then you're going to slow cook it and
So
totally
you
break
need
it
to
down.
reduce it down.
Exactly.
It
So
looks like it's really drank in all those flavours, doesn't it?
it really
Colour
has.
looks great.
And it just kind of makes this nice, like, caramelized.
This liquid gold then that
Totally.
goes in. Look at
So we're
that
just going
bad.
to pour
That's-
that right in.
And then you want to get that on a low heat for how long?
Low heat. Again, maybe about 4 to 6 hours. If you keep it lower, just keep an eye on it. Now, like this, I'd always add the juices from what you're roasting, but whenever you're slow cooking anything, you do need a little bit more liquid so it doesn't dry out.
liquid.
So this is just a bit of cider.
Cider.
And,
Arr,
maybe
cider.
just have it come about a fourth to no more than halfway up the meat.
Okay.
So that's that.
don't wanna
That's
cover the
just.
meat.
You don't want to cover it, no.
Does it need to be a dry cider or sweet cider or medium cider? Just
I
a standard
would-
supermarket.
You could go anything, go
can.
standard. I picked kind of a dry cider for this
Yeah.
just because you do have the sugar already
Yeah.
in the marinade. So you don't want to make it too sweet.
sweet, yeah.
Now, if you don't want any more sweetness, if you don't want any more of that appley kind of, because we do have the cider vinegar in it already. If you
Yeah.
don't want that, just pick, any kind of.
This is one
beer.
to do. We invested in a slow cooker in our house. Do you have one?
No.
And we're still trying to get the hang of it, how long to do stuff, how to leave
Yeah.
it. So you're talking here 4 hours in a slow cooker or longer?
Yeah, you can definitely do longer
On a
if
low?
it's lower. I'd say at least 4 hours. So
4
a lot
hours
of
on
slow
low?
cookers, 4 hours on high.
4 hours on-
So most slow cookers have a low setting and a high setting. Typically, like the rule of thumb is that if it's whatever it is for low, just double it for high. And you'll see most low recipes, or sorry, double it for low.
For low,
so you'll
yeah.
see most high recipes at about 4 hours. So if you stick to about 6 to 8 on high, but myself personally, when I've done the difference, I haven't seen a huge variation between how it turns out. Again, slow cooking
4
is
hours
just
on
so
high.
foolproof.
That's
4
all I need to
hours
know.
on high, exactly.
I kind of lost you for a bit there.
Yeah, just off in a days. So here we have it slow cooked. This has been cooking for
Hours.
hours.
Oh, and you're just pulling
And
it
this
down.
is what
this
you
is the
want.
pulling part.
This is the pulling part. So this is the
Look
pork.
at that.
And like this is, again, you can kind of use any joints you want. The best thing is, like, again, if you pick a joint that has the bone in it, you'll see the meat just completely fall off the
literally
bone.
fall off the
I'm
bone.
not hurrying you up, but I am starving.
So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give a little, so a bit of,
Your kitchen hand here will
thank you,
help you out.
Simon.
Could you put some of the glaze over that
I'm
again?
definitely
or
going to put
yeah?
some glaze over it, yes. So I'm just going to grab this. And the great thing about the glaze is there's also recipes, or we have a recipe, so if you were to just, what you do is you can put this on a pot, add a bit of ketchup or tomato puree, and let that simmer down, and you have the most amazing homemade barbecue sauce.
Go ahead,
Too
son.
many honor.
I'll
What a
do
guy.
this shit.
What
That's
a guy.
the least I can do. Caroline,
That's what
thank you, my
friends are
darling.
for.